The adept who has mastered this ritual, successfully realizing the full import of this controlled rapture, ought not to allow his mind to loosen its grip on the astral imagery of the star-spate will symbol or soul symbol, or even to forget its duty to the body and the sensible surroundings, nor should he omit to keep his body of light in close touch with the phenomena of its own plane, so that its privy consciousness may fulfill its proper functions of protecting his scattered ideals from obsession. But he should have acquired by previous practice the faculty of detaching these elements of his consciousness from their articulate center, so that they become temporarily independent, responsible units, capable of receiving communications from headquarters at will, but perfectly able, 1, to take care of themselves without troubling their chief, and 2, to report to him at the proper time. In a figure, they must be like subordinate officers, expected to display self-reliance, initiative, and integrity in the execution of the orders of the day. The adept should therefore be able to rely on these individual minds of his to control their own conditions without interference from himself for the time required, and to recall them in due course, receiving an accurate report of their adventures. This being so, the adept will be free to concentrate his deepest self, that part of him which unconsciously orders his true will, upon the realization of his holy guardian angel. The absence of his bodily, mental, and astral consciousness is indeed cardinal to success, for it is their usurpation of his attention which has made him deaf to his soul, and his preoccupation with their affairs that has prevented him from perceiving that soul. The effect of the ritual has been to keep them so busy with their own work that they cease to distract him, to separate them so completely that his soul is stripped of its sheaths, to arouse in him an enthusiasm so intense as to intoxicate and anesthetize him, that he may not feel and resent the agony of this spiritual vivisection, just as bashful lovers get drunk on the wedding night, in order to brazen out the intensity of shame which so mysteriously coexists with their desire. To concentrate the necessary spiritual forces from every element and fling them simultaneously into the aspiration towards the holy guardian angel, and to attract the angel by the vibration of the magical voice which invokes him. The method of the ritual is thus manifold. There is firstly an analysis of the adept, which enables him to calculate his course of action. He can decide what must be banished, what purified, what concentrated. He can then concentrate his will upon its one essential element, overcoming its resistance, which is automatic like a physiological reflex, by destroying inhibitions through his ego-overwhelming enthusiasm. The other half of the work needs no such complex effort, for his angel is simple and unperplexed, ready at all times to respond to rightly ordered approach. It is impossible to overcome one's inhibitions by conscious effort. Their existence justifies them. God is on their side, as on that of the victim in Browning's Instance Tyrannus. A man cannot compel himself to love, however much he may want to, on various rational grounds. But on the other hand, when the true impulse comes, it overwhelms all its critics. They are powerless either to make or break a genius. It can only testify to the fact that it has met its master. But the results of the ritual are too various to permit of rigid description. One may say that, presuming the union to be perfect, the adept need not retain any memory soever of what has occurred. He may be merely aware of a gap in his conscious life and judge of its contents by observing that his nature has been subtly transfigured. Such an experience might indeed be the proof of perfection. If the adept is to be any wise conscious of his angel, it must be that some part of his mind is prepared to realize the rapture and to express it to itself in one way or another. This involves the perfection of that part, its freedom from prejudice and the limitations of rationality, so-called. For instance, one could not receive the illumination as to the nature of life which the doctrine of evolution should shed if one is passionately persuaded that humanity is essentially not animal, or convinced that causality is repugnant to reason. The adept must be ready for the utter destruction of his point of view on any subject, and even that of his innate conception of the forms and laws of thought. Thus, he may find that his angel consider his business or his love to be absurd trifles. Also, that human ideas of time are invalid and human laws of logic applicable only to the relations between illusions. Now the angel will make contact with the adept at any point that is sensitive to his influence. Such a point will naturally be one that is salient in the adept's character, and also one that is, in the proper sense of the word, pure. Thus, an artist attuned to appreciate plastic beauty is likely to receive a visual impression of his angel in a physical form which is sublimely quintessential of his ideal. A musician may be rapt away by majestic melodies such as he never hoped to hear. A philosopher may attain apprehension of tremendous truths, the solution of problems that had baffled him all his life. Conformably with this doctrine, we read of illuminations experienced by simple-minded men, such as a workman who saw God and likened him to a quantity of little pears. Again, we know that ecstasy, impinging upon unbalanced minds, inflames the idolized idea and produces fanatical faith fierce even to frenzy, with intolerance and insanely disordered energy, which is yet so powerful as to affect the destinies of empires. But the phenomena of the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel are a side issue. The essence of the union is the intimacy. Their intimacy, or rather identity, is independent of all partial forms of expression. At its best, it is therefore as inarticulate as love. The intensity of the consummation will more probably compel a sob or a cry, some natural physical gesture of animal sympathy with the spiritual spasm. This is to be criticized as incomplete self-control. Silence is nobler. In any case, the adept must be in communion with his angel, so that his soul is suffused with sublimity, whether intelligible or not in terms of intellect. It is evident that the stress of such spiritual possession must tend to overwhelm the soul, especially at first. It actually suffers from the excess of its ecstasy, just as extreme love produces vertigo. The soul sinks and swoons. Such weakness is fatal alike to its enjoyment and its apprehension. Be strong, then canst thou bear more rapture, saith the book of the law. The adept must therefore play the man, arousing himself to harden his soul. To this end, I, the beast, have made trial and proof of divers devices. Of these, the most potent is to set the body to strive with the soul. Let the muscles take grip on themselves as if one were wrestling. Let the jaw and mouth, in particular, be tightened to the utmost. Breathe deeply, slowly, yet strongly. Keep mastery over the mind by muttering forcibly and audibly, but lest such muttering tend to disturb communion with the angel, speak only his name. Until the adept have heard that name, therefore, he may not abide in the perfect possession of his beloved. His most important task is thus to open his ears to the voice of his angel, that he may know him how he is called. For hearken, this name, understood rightly and fully, declareth the nature of the angel in every point, wherefore also that name is the formula of the perfection to which the adept must aspire, and also of the power of magic, by virtue whereof he must work. He then that is as yet ignorant of that name, let him repeat a word worthy of this particular ritual. Such are Abrahadabra, the word of the Aeon, which signifieth the great work accomplished, and Aumgin, interpreted in part 3 of book 4, and the name of the beast, for that his number showeth forth this union with the angel, and his work is no other than to make all men partakers of this mystery of the mysteries of magic. So then, saying this word or that, let the adept wrestle with his angel and withstand him, that he may constrain him to consent to continue in communion until the consciousness becomes capable of clear comprehension and of accurate transmission of the transcendent truth of the beloved to the heart that holds him. The firm repetition of one of these words ought to enable the adept to maintain the state of union for several minutes, even at first. In any case, he must rekindle his ardor, esteeming his success rather as an encouragement to more ardent aspiration than as a triumph. He should increase his efforts. Let him beware of the lust of result, of expecting too much, of losing courage if his first success is followed by a series of failures. For success makes success seem so incredible that one is apt to create an inhibition fatal to subsequent attempts. One fears to fail. The fear intrudes upon the concentration and so fulfills its own prophecy. We know how too much pleasure in a love affair makes one afraid to disgrace oneself on the next few occasions. Indeed, until familiarity has accustomed one to the idea that one's lover has never supposed one to be more than human, confidence returns gradually. Inarticulate ecstasy is replaced by a more sober enjoyment of the elements of the fascination. Just so one's first dazzled delight in a new landscape turns, as one continues to gaze, to the appreciation of exquisite details of the view. At first they were blurred by the blinding rush of general beauty. They emerge one by one as the shock subsides and passionate rapture yields to intelligent interest. In the same way, the adept almost always begins by torrential lyrics, painting out mystical extravagances about ineffable love, unimaginable bliss, inexpressible infinities of illimitable utterness. He usually loses his sense of proportion, of humor, of reality, and of sound judgment. His ego is often inflated to the bursting point, till he would be abjectly ridiculous if he were not so pitifully dangerous to himself and others. He also tends to take his newfound truths of illumination for the entire body of truth, and insists that they must be as valid and vital for all men as they happen to be for himself. It is wise to keep silence about those things unlawful to utter, which one may have heard in the seventh heaven. This may not apply to the sixth. The adept must keep himself in hand, however tempted to make a new heaven and a new earth in the next few days, by trumpeting his triumphs. He must give time a chance to redress his balance, sore shaken by the impact of the infinite. As he becomes adjusted to intercourse with his angel, he will find his passionate ecstasy develop a quality of peace and intelligibility which adds power, while it informs and fortifies his mental and moral qualities instead of obscuring and upsetting them. He will by now have become able to converse with his angel, impossible as it once seemed, for he now knows that the storm of sound, which he supposed to be the voice, was only the clamor of his own confusions. The infinity nonsense was born of his own inability to think clearly beyond his limits, just as a bushman, confronted by numbers above 5, can only call them many. The truth told by the angel, immensely as it extends the horizon of the adept, is perfectly definite and precise. It does not deal in ambiguities and abstractions. It possesses form and confesses law, in exactly the same way and degree as any other body of truth. It is to the truth of the material and intellectual spheres of man very much what the mathematics of philosophy, with its infinite series and Cantorian continuity, is to schoolboy arithmetic. Each implies the other, though by that one may explore the essential nature of existence, and by this a pawnbroker's profits. This then is the true aim of the adept in this whole operation, to assimilate himself to his angel by continual conscious communion. For his angel is an intelligible image of his own true will, to do which is the whole of the lore of his being. Also the angel appeareth in Tifereth, which is the heart of the Ruach, and thus the center of gravity of the mind. It is also directly inspired from Kether, the ultimate self, through the path of the high priestess, or initiated intuition. Hence the angel is in truth the logos, or articulate expression, of the whole being of the adept, so that as he increases in the perfect understanding of his name, he approaches the solution of the ultimate problem, who he himself truly is. Unto this final statement the adept may trust his angel to lead him, for the Tifereth consciousness alone is connected by paths with the various parts of his mind. None therefore save he hath the knowledge requisite for calculating the combinations of conduct which will organize and equilibrate for forces of the adept against the moment when it becomes necessary to confront the abyss. The adept must control a compact and coherent mass if he is to make sure of hurling it from him with a clean-cut gesture. I, the beast 66, lift up my voice and swear that I myself have been brought hither by mine angel. After that I had attained unto the knowledge and conversation of him by virtue of mine ardor towards him, and of this ritual that I bestow upon men my fellows, and most of his great love that he beareth to me. Yea, verily, he led me to the abyss. He bade me fling away all that I had and all that I was, and he forsook me in that hour. But when I came beyond the abyss, to be reborn within the womb of Babylon, then came he unto me, abiding in my virgin heart, its Lord and lover. Also he made me a magus, speaking through his law, the word of the new aeon, the aeon of the crowned and conquering child. Thus he fulfilled my will, to bring full freedom to the race of men. Yea, he wrought also in me a work of wonder beyond this. But in this matter I am sworn to hold my peace,